JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Tuesday, March 3rd, 3:29 on this fine afternoon. Talk really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P down 0.75%, well off the lows of the session, but still solidly in the red. Doesn't feel like a big bloodbath today, although there's a lot of names that are down more than 1 or 2%, right? You have MDB, SE, wow, one of my favorite stocks, one of my top five stocks, I think it was 2023. Um, Light, SanDisk, Micron. Yeah, a lot of names in the red. But it's kind of one of those glimmer of hope kind of sessions. Maybe this is, I wouldn't call the morning lows capitulation, but a little more. When we got down to 669 there on a SPY, there was a little more, I don't know how to put it, concern that maybe this is going to be the start of some large pull. And I'm not saying we're out of the woods by any means. There's a lot of risk. I keep talking about some event that is not expected. I mean, a lot of the stuff going on is not expected, but one like some kind of event on U.S. soil, something like that, I think would really rattle markets. But for now, I remain cautiously optimistic that maybe this could be it, and not that we get numb to what's going on, but oil can kind of settle, that can get worked out, and we can focus on stocks, right? So anyway, so take a look at the SPY 681 right now. Got all the way down to 669 at the open. It was kind of like I wouldn't call it a slow melt, but it wasn't like wild gyrations that you would see amidst market panic, right? I wouldn't call it controlled selling, but and then there's still some names. I mean, today actually was one of the few days where there was only a handful of names that opened in the green. But then now I look at the watch list and I scroll down, and I'm not saying half my watch list is in the green, but there's a substantial amount of stocks that if you had asked me to take a quick glance at the watch list and guess where the market is, I'd say, oh, maybe we're flat or slightly in the red. So we'll see how things play out here. I made this little this little image. This is SanDisk, right? So hoarding. I'm a SanDisk memory card hoarder. Obviously, it's not the same stuff that the stock's going bonkers on. But I remember those stories. Make sure you have your physical gold, right? This way you can squeeze the gold shorts. But anyway, all right. So that's all overall markets. We'll see. The big data point this week is the jobs number. So I don't know how much that'll move markets. And then you have to figure is Fed cuts. Like what is this all going to do? Is there going to be some surprise announcement? All of a sudden, it's all going to be come to an end on tomorrow, right? And then so there's all these little things that I try and think of scenarios. But for now, I continue to kind of keep things small, open to both sides. Today, I'm looking at positions like I post a little thing in the chat room on Visa, right? Because I'm trying to find puts, right? I'm not going to sit here and trade for downside, right? But if I talked about this supports break on the SPY 670, 674, 672, somewhere in there, I wanted to get some puts. But then I'm looking at the puts, and to me, the risk reward wasn't skewed unless there was a substantial larger move to the downside, because some of the premiums are I wouldn't say insane, but they just won't make sense, right? So I try and rationalize moves. So for me, I'm looking at Visa, and of course Visa's in the green right now, and I'm talking about when we have these pulls that it's going to pull the rest of the market down, right? Some names that haven't participated in the recent market madness, usually once the market really starts to roll, then those names start to participate, and because of that, the premiums, which weren't high to begin with, because of they haven't been pulled down, will start to increase. Their premiums are less expensive, and then that'd be the way to play it, as opposed to playing a name that's already has been destroyed, and the puts are pricing in substantial destruction, and risk reward just doesn't jive. So yeah, I was looking at Visa, and the 300 puts actually looked interesting on a risk reward basis. I think they were like 60 cents, and that's with the stock at 315. But it was stubborn. It was hung around 315. Yeah, now the 300s to 26 by 39. So that might be one of the areas that I'd look for put hedges. But like I've been doing pretty much for the last couple of months. I did have the Visa puts last week. I was able to swing for a profit. I think it was last week or the week before. I've been just kind of sitting on my hands, white knuckle the sell off, and hold on for nibbling for upside, for bounces. So all right, that's overall market. Yeah, sitting here. Okay, and 50-day moving average, which we're already below, so don't have to worry about that unless we get back up to 688. All right, that's overall markets. Also the VIX, right? When I was on the rant yesterday afternoon, the VIX was up 8%, and the market was actually flat or in the green. Today, the market is red, and the VIX was muted, right? Right now, the VIX is up 6%. So riddle me that. Maybe that's a sign, okay, not saying the worst is over, but maybe we can start to think it's a possibility, as opposed to, hey, we still have a ways to go. Things to note too, the yields, right? I think it's one of the bigger 2-day moves in yields. So the 10-year, which I should hold my breath. The 10-year was under 4% for 2 days or a day and a half, and not anymore. Big moves. Hopefully that reverse. All right, and then overnight we're gonna have to watch, right? South Korea market destroyed, down 7%. Is that just one of those little greed resets? It can get back to going. We'll see. All right, that's overall market. Um, Oh, and other things, right? And I always try and keep things in context because very easy to get feared into the market's going crazy and so on and so forth. But riddle me this: take a look. This is the amount of stocks trading over their 200-day moving average. Show me where the market pullback is, right? I mean, remarkable stuff. You can point to April, right? And the difference between now and April is the market was a little on edge already with tariffs on the autos and things in February. The automakers, the tit for tat situation with Mexico and Canada with the US. So some of the gyrations in some of the stocks caused the amount of stocks trading over the 200-day moving average to be skewed a little bit. So you can see that back in April. But right now you'd say, okay, November, right? So always try and keep things a little bit in context. All right, so overall market. So just quick on individual names. Yesterday was Reddit. So Reddit's I would say come back to life, but you would have thought this morning it was down to 137. Uh, Maybe it was going to get back into its lows that it hit at the start of February, found a little support, and then back here at 145. At times, I'm thinking, do I add some more strikes? But you know what? If it runs, it's not going to matter if I add more strikes. I'll just continue to hold the 160s. They were actually solidly green a little while ago. They're slightly in the red here. I'll just continue to hold those. And at some point, I don't know if it's going to be today, next week, next month. There'll be some news. The thing's going to take off. I don't know if stock's going to be at 100 when it does it, if it's at 140, if it's at 180. And then it's going to go bonkers. Of course, that's what I think is going to happen. There's no certainty. But I just want to make sure I'm in a position when it happens, right? So that's Reddit. Not much to talk about that one. I'll just continue to hold those strikes. And then Lemonade, riddle me that. And I just posted it earlier. It's like I was talking about yesterday too. Financials go down, Lemonade goes down. Insurers go down, Lemonade goes down, right? It seems like any sector goes down, Lemonade goes down. Software goes down. It's a software name, AI name. Lemonade goes down. So it's kind of frustrating. The stock is off 50%. At 99.90, it hit on can everybody hear me? Sorry if you're having issues. This recording, it'll be up shortly. So all right, hang on a second. So it's down 99.90 was the highs. It hit 48.90 earlier this morning. So a $51 move. That's like $3.8 billion market cap. So its entire market cap has been cut since January 22nd. And there's nothing material, in my opinion, to warrant that, right? And they just had their earnings of February 19th, and they were monster earnings. And so it's like I say with Reddit and the Roku and the Roblox, these are names that maybe I have them wrong, or there's serious opportunities that when things start to reverse, they're gonna have multi-bagging moves to the upside in short order. So finally, I was looking at weeklies. I did the weeklies last week, did not work. So went and got the monthly strikes on Lemonade. The calls almost got up 50%. As they continue to go, I'll look to close them out to cover cost. 200-day moving average right there, 58.03. And you can make the case that things goes bonkers. So finally back in Lemonade, I'll continue to hold those. And then now, right? So I did now a couple weeks ago, and I was able to close some in for 100% cover cost. And then got into calls again this morning. Well, earlier, right? It ran up up to 115, closed some of the calls out to cover some of the costs. Take a look. The 50-day moving average, 126, the 200 is 170. Just then you have gap fill, right? Gap fill from earnings at 130. So, as much as I want to sit here and wait to try and get a little more conviction on some names, I got to dip my toes in. So, you take a look, and now, of course, you have the CEO buy 3 million shares. The nixed all the 10.5B1 plans, so the insider sales are done. Short term, just kind of more of a, hey, we believe in our company and our fund, our stock, and our company, what have you. Always a good sign, in my opinion. So hopefully this continues to gap and go. So that's now. So got those strikes. And then other names I'm watching. I keep posting about Roblox. And I had those calls last week to 72s, able to lock some of those in. I don't know if it's just melting and, it's going to go 50, then 40, then 30. I hope that's not the case. but just a, one of those names that you just know. It's like a monster story, uh, and it's got like this. I'm trying to think of some other things like Crocs, right? Who remembers the Crocs shoes when it was a $20 stock, and you're like, everybody wears them, everybody does. This is years ago, and then finally the stock finally caught up to the brand and the usage when the earnings started to come out, and then you look, and it's a $120 stock from $20. Roblox. I mean, it's just one of those monster usage story, so entrenched in in kids and adolescents. So all right, that's Roblox, and I'm trying to think of some of the other names I was going to look at. CrowdStrike reports after the close. I just posted that. To me, I always like to do some lottos, right? Well, not always, but that's a name. I mean, another name kind of thrown out with the baby thrown out with the bathwater. These security stocks. It's like you can't replace them with AI prompts. So you can't have someone can't just go and create a security suite for some kind of business. It's just I wouldn't say it's impossible, but to do that, it's just not you're just not going to go and say, oh, I'll replace what CrowdStrike does for you, right? So that's why it's like some of these sell-offs just mind-boggling. But is you saw what MDB did yesterday? Great report, and the stock got destroyed. So earnings for now don't matter. Maybe they will after the close here. So I think that's it, folks. I'm trying to think of some other things. I mean, Serve Robotics, $10 close, all the way down to 9:30 in the morning, back up to 9.75. I could sit there and get the calls today, ride it to $10 at the close, and then rinse and repeat. And then eventually the premiums just come out to the point I might as well just be patient. So at some point that one takes off. I mean, that story. Uh, I think that's it. I'm trying to think of some of the other names. Oh, I was looking at the solar. That's what I meant to talk about this morning. Back in the day, if you had any kind of sniff, any inkling that there was an issue with energy, oil prices, what have you, anything in the green space, especially solar sector, they'd go bonkers, right? First Solar back in the day, the stock would be up 10, 15% if oil was down. And a lot of times it traded in tandem with oil, right? So oil prices up, First Solar up. Oil prices down, First Solar down. And here it is, years, you would think, 5, 10 years ago, if you were trading the green sector and solar, you would think it'd be more prominent than it is now, and it's like it isn't. It's almost like worse shape than it used to be. And I'm looking at those names. I'm like, these names probably going to rally. And I'm watching for Solar, which just had horrible earnings, so that's probably some of it. I'm like, are these going to run at some point? Me, I'm bullish Solar Edge and Phase. So when I look at those names, they're through my bull goggles. So I always take that with a grain of salt. But at some point, maybe I'll look to get some of those strikes. I think that's it. What are some? Oh, and GLW, right? I mean, just 150. It was 160 yesterday, down to 148 in the pre-market, then bounced, then down to 141 after the open. Now it's sitting here at 148, and I'm start looking. Do I add some more strikes? No reason to get crazy because of the swings, right? Unless you time it or you want to kind of you're looking to scalp or flip, then it doesn't make sense. I'm looking for a big move. So maybe before the week is over, I add more strikes there on GLW. And that's it. Let's have a great day, folks. Rock and roll.